So I'm not entirely sure why I'm recording this, but I figured I'm out here right now painting this. So I designed this changing table. It's handmade wood, and I seal it up with this nice like primer semi-gloss. And I actually made one of these for my own little girl, and we've been using it now solid for over 3 years. And now that the app SPAKL has finally launched successfully, um, I'm doing a little bit of woodworking. So it's been a while since I've been back in this, but it's always kind of a nice pastime to go back to periodically. It's just a little therapeutic, I guess you could say, especially after all that time spent coding stuff. Actually, so she's supposed to be napping, but she's talking. Anyway, yeah. So here I am doing some woodworking, just kind of thinking about this past week where I launched the app. What a roller coaster that's been. Actually, I'm kind of curious. It should follow me. I go over here, this side. I'm out of space. Let's see. Oh, it looks like it's following me. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, what a wild ride that's been. The launch of the app. It's been a little nerve-wracking, and it's one of those things, particularly this week. It's like you launch it. Oh, man, I hope this happens to somebody else other than just me. But like, if you send an email or you write something, and the second you hit submit, or you send it to somebody, and then you notice a mistake or something you wish you would have changed, but that only typically happens after you press submit. But before that, you're basically completely ignorant of the problem. Ignorant, as they say. My buddy mine used to say that all the time. It's so funny. But that's kind of what happened this week. It's like I pressed launch. Actually, let's back up. I pressed launch for both of them, both the iOS and the Android app, at the same time. And Apple, man, my gosh. Great platform, horrendous lead times for just getting stuff done, dude. Which, and again, I like to intellectualize stuff. It's a defense mechanism, and I understand it. It's like they don't want to let like junk onto their platform. But at the same time, man, dude, like speed it up. Come on. So anyway, I pressed submit on both of those platforms at the same time. Google was approved basically immediately. And again, to give Apple some points for slowing stuff down, it's like I launched on Google with some very blatant, obvious issues. But you wouldn't know it unless you actually opened the app and like poked around a little more than you normally would. So I fixed those like day one when I noticed that. And that also helped me with Apple because I was able to refine the app to a better state starting off. But yeah, so Google had it first, kind of a decent app, and I was pretty pleased with it overall. But the more I started to kind of like think about it and actually like play around with the actual live product, I was like, man, I don't know what I was thinking with that. So for example, the menu initially, when you press like videos or resources or whatever, actually no, I had videos and I had tools and then I had an account button. And if you pressed each of those, they would have a modal, like a slide up, pop up screen. And I thought it looked nice. It was kind of a neat little like animation. And but then I started to use it and look at it from a different lens. Like if I'm using this every day, that would get pretty old pretty quick because it's like I gotta wait every single time for the modal to load. Like that's kind of annoying, and it's not egregious the first time, but over time, if you just want to quick get to stuff, like that's gonna get obnoxious. So I restructured that to make it more seamless. There's no more pop-ups that way. It just like immediately switches the screen. And then I was building like these tools, like units of measure, like conversions, like calculate like area and fluids and lengths, like adding those together. Because you never take a measurement, and uh, you have like, I don't know, 30 seconds and a quarter. You're like, it takes a second sometimes, and sometimes you're like juggling like 3 different things. So it's just like, dude, let's just make this easy. I'm gonna have a little calculator in there. And you just add that in there. It does the work for you. It also helps with metric stuff too, converting that. But anyway, so I had those tools I was building, and I was putting those in the account tab, just because there wasn't that many of them. But again, the more I started playing with the app, I'm like, dude, that's really dumb. Let's make a dedicated like resources area where like I can continue to add to that as I keep having ideas of like ways to help people. Majority of it is kind of like thinking of stuff that I get irritated with, and so that's kind of where, if you're ever curious why I am building the tools that I am, it's just because like at one point I've been irritated by something, and so I try to help somebody else not have to get irritated. And so that's kind of the logic behind that. So all that said is like the first week was pretty brutal, because I actually had the Google app was launched probably a week prior to that, or prior to this week. But I didn't want to announce it because like I was super amped, and like it's one of you know that meme where the guy's kind of like he has something to say. That's kind of how I felt, where it's like, dude, I have this app. It's actually live. Holy smokes, it's amazing. But I didn't want to announce it publicly until I had both iOS and Android like ready to download immediately. Because then it's like, hey, I got this great thing. You can't use it yet. And it just kind of like, I don't know, it kind of dilutes the message, and just like, I don't know. I didn't like that. I didn't like doing that. So I just decided to wait, as hard as that was, because I've been working at this for quite some time. But anyway, so that's kind of like the first week has just been nonstop updates. It's been kind of hard to like reel in all my ideas, because like it's going to get to the point where people are going to download it, and they're going to be like, dude, check out this app, you gotta check it out. And then like, everybody's gonna be like, oh man, did you see that feature? That's pretty cool. And I'm like, wait, what? And they find out that I'm updating it every week. That's gonna get kind of tiresome, if they're actually staying on top of that. It's also for my own sanity to kind of pace myself, because I've been like going bananas the past month and a half building this thing from scratch, literally from the first word in the code until where it is now. It was all focus, deep focus. And I've also never done it before, so that was quite the effort. But all that says, like, I think the launch went pretty well. I kind of made a neat little video. I had this like vision of the logo and kind of how I could make it reveal. The inspiration was actually kind of like Terminator, something about the red. I don't know. It just looks sharp, like it's scanning something, like it's scanning what the problem is, and it's going to give you a fix. So that was kind of the logic and like the creative foo-foo stuff behind the scenes, why I did what I did with that. Yeah, it's all about figuring out what the heck's going on, what the problem is, and fixing it. It's super easy. Actually, now that I'm painting, I just remembered there's a section in there where I define tools and what you use them for, and when to use them, and why. And there's actually a section in there specifically for paint, because I already had paint in place here, but I ran out, but I had to pick up some more. And I was kind of like, yeah, what is the difference between all these paints? Like, I know you're supposed to use a certain type in a bathroom because it get the moisture and stuff like that, but I don't really know the reasoning behind some of that. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know that for a while. When I first moved into my house, I didn't know that was a difference until I went to go touch up the walls. And I chose the spare paint that was it's like a semi-gloss, so it's like for the bathroom. And so like I'm in my family room, like, why does this like not drying? And it's like, no, it's just because of semi-gloss on a flat matte paint. So it looked awful. So I had to redo that. But that's one of those things, like, I don't know, people don't tell you this stuff, or maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. So I made a resource there that kind of goes into detail about different types of paint, different types of batteries, different types of hammers, different types of all kinds of different things that you may or may not have already known. to kind of, again, it's an irritation. Like, let's just not do that. Let's make it easy. And then I got another tool in there. I was like, you know what? Something that is also kind of lacking when you move into a house or become responsible for pretty much anything is like the onboarding is not really there. So, for example, you know, maintenance of a home, or maintenance of your lawn, or maintenance of the gutters or the water heater, and all those little things you're supposed to be doing periodically, or like redoing grout, whatever, doesn't matter. It's one of those things with a lot of recurring things that you're supposed to stay on top of, and if you don't think it have big ramifications. So for me, was HVAC. I recently replaced my HVAC system for 10 grand, which I know if you're like in the know, that's like the bottom version basically of the HVAC system. But still, man, 10 grand. Come on. Like, this economy? um, and so like there's things you could do to kind of stay on top of that and kind of help with the longevity of your system. But that was never really something I either paid attention to or was really like made aware of. So again, I have a whole section in there that like teaches you and has you easily add recurring maintenance stuff to your calendar. And again, make your life easier. You know, you just kind of set it and forget it, which has been a big help. So you scroll through, you're just like, hey, that applies to me. And you just press it and it gets added to your calendar. You can adjust how frequently it'll remind you, but that way it's just there and you don't even have to think about it until it pops up. So you can always stay on top of it. Hopefully get more out of your house than you would have normally. So, and it's another kind of fun little story time. Actually, I'm going to save that for the next video. But yeah, so I think that there's a lot of potential with the app. The toughest part was really just not really knowing what the heck I'm doing, but I was able to make my way through it because I'm in the tech space, and so like this stuff just made sense to me once I did some research and some practical applications. Now, oh man, what a journey! It's been like 1 week. You feel like you can defeat the world, man. You just like look at the amazing thing I just built. Oh my gosh! And nobody cares. That's the biggest thing. It's an issue. You're your own cheerleader. You're likely not going to have anybody in your corner that's like woohoo. So that's a bitter pill, but it's there. It's fine. But you're building some amazing stuff. You're like, yeah. But then the next thing you know is like you turn around, you literally broke the entire app. Like one little line of code, one bracket breaks the entire thing. And since you're not that experienced, you're like, how do I fix this? Like, and there's nobody there to help you. So that was also a big frustration was getting through that. But yeah, it was just over a month of just like strict, like most of the days it was like 7 or 8 in the morning until probably like 11 at night or later, sometimes 1 in the morning, just because like the ideas keep coming and the excitement is still there. And even the frustration is there, like cussing out your computer, just like, what the heck? This should work. And like doing extensive Googling and AI queries and stuff like that. It's just like, man. But I guess I can kind of talk a little bit about like the inspiration behind this so if you don't know, I started a business back last year, I think it was, and then officially took it full time this year. Still working at it, and it's a journey for sure. But I was building AI agents in a business application. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But basically, I started to kind of open my eyes to like all the opportunities for AI to really help people, and not just like, oh, look at this little picture I put on LinkedIn, like woohoo. No, I'm talking like actual practical, real impact. So like with businesses, I mean, I have a video about that on my channel, but or my business channel, but that kind of got me thinking about like what else is there that's like kind of lacking. And one of them was like the repair space. Like, okay, so if you have anything in your house, for example, I'll just give this little pew. I was going to say save it for later video, but we had a wasp issue here where wasps got into the house, and they had basically been building a nest in the eave above our like our family room where there's a kind of a vaulted ceiling, and they had made their way into the house and they were burrowing through the drywall. Ugh, I know, right? Um, and one of them had gotten in the house, and my cat was like going bananas, going ballistic, bouncing around all over the place, like going after whatever the heck just got in the house. I'm like, dude, cat, chill. And come to find out it was a wasp. I'm like, oh, good job, cat. And then my dog came over and really tried to eat it. I'm like, no, it can sting you. But anyway, like, got rid of it. And then I was like, well, let me open the window blind so I can see what the heck's going on here. And there was like 30 wasps on the window, man. Like, oh my gosh. And long story short, we got the wasps taken care of. We had some guy come over and like, you know, he sprayed the crap out of them through the ceiling and used that like dust. I don't know what the name is. It's like Dimitrescu earth. I don't know what it's called. But there's like this powder basically where like whenever he sprays it in there, they get pissed and they start flapping their wings like crazy, and it makes the dust get up high around them, or all around them, and it sticks to their carapace. So that's the right word. Sticks to their bodies. So it takes them all out, and if any more get in there, they're just going to kick it up more. So it just continues to kill them, regardless of like the time frame. So anyway, so the dust stuff was great. He killed them all. Patched the roof, patched the ceiling until they all died, and then I needed to basically repaint the ceiling. Well, I don't know what the heck he used to spray the ceiling, man, but it was like super greasy. And so I didn't think anything of it. I just spackled the holes, sanded it all down, repainted it. It looked great as it was drying. And then like a day or two later, it's like getting dark again. I'm like, what the heck? And it was because it was that stuff he used was super greasy. And I'm like, man, what the heck? And so the video we're going to be doing next, and this is one of those things, this has been a while since this was an issue. It's one of those things in your house, like you don't take care of it. You know you need to, but you don't. And honestly, I wasn't really sure how. I was like, maybe if I do like a waterproof like semi-gloss and then like paint over top of that with the matte, I don't know. But the next video we're doing is basically using SPAKL to help me fix that. So stay tuned. I already had that do the back end stuff, like the back work. They already did the back end work, and it already did give me the right answer to how to fix it. So I'm excited to kind of push that out and kind of show it in action. So, but it's cool because like another example was, so while I was developing it, I was like, I was going around and I was like scanning everything I could find, just like, because like, for example, my daughter's like she did like a swim class or whatever. And we're like in this indoor pool at a gym locally. And there's this like metal bracket or metal panel in the pool area. And it's completely rusted. And as it's rusting, it's slowly leaking onto the tile, which is slowly leaking onto the floor towards the pool. And you can see this very obvious kind of like, comet shape of rust coming down off this thing, and it's going to the pool. I'm like, well, that's freaking annoying. Like, then I'm thinking of, if I'm the maintenance manager there, would I even take the time to think about it? Or am I just like, oh yeah, that's what happens? Or am I just like, I don't know how to fix that? Or what all that takes. And if I'm the owner, I'm like, well, that's annoying, but I don't really know anything about it. What do I do? Like, he has to have a whole meeting. It's a whole thing where he talks to the manager, like, fix this, whatever. Instead of like, let's take a picture and let's see what this says. Okay, so this is how we fix it. That's probably like $50. Why aren't we fixing this? And you can actually take a screenshot, send it in a text, like, fix this within a week or whatever. Here's how to do it. Just knock it out. Okay, it should be super easy. And that makes everybody on the same level in terms of like experience and knowledge. Now, for the most part, I'll put it that way. But that's kind of cool because I'm like, okay, well, I had no business like in this at all, so I'm just gonna take a picture. Oh, that's how you fix it. So like everywhere I went, I was like, what else is messed up? That was kind of neat to see. And then as I'm also kind of working through this as well, I'm like, because I was coming at it from the angle of like home repair stuff, which it still is, but it's more than that because I was like, wow, I wonder if this thing's going to even know. Like if I give it kind of weird stuff, like a bicycle or a car repair or, anything I can think of basically in daily life, like a microwave, that's an issue, or my computer won't charge, so just all of the things I could think of. And I kept feeding it that stuff. And it kept answering it. I was just like, oh, it's obvious now looking back, but like at the time I was like, oh. So I kind of had to shift my strategy a little bit, if you can call it that, my logic in my head. Because you don't want to be like, oh yeah, like pigeonhole it into what it is or what it can do, but it can do so much more than that. So that's why I kind of like broke down into it about like, if you're like a single operator, like handyman or whatever, or just getting started, you know, that's kind of what this tool is for, which will kind of make you just as effective. Like if you have a can-do attitude, man, like I can go far. So like all you need is just a little shove, even if you're the one doing it. And this is kind of one of those things where SPAKL's kind of there to get you kind of started, because if you're the headspace where you're like, this stuff just makes sense to you, sometimes all you have to do is like, you know, see how it's done or what all it takes. And you're like, oh, I can do that. And that's maybe all you need to like boost the confidence to get that taken care of. So that's kind of what I was seeing happen as I was using that. Because it just kept helping me fix stuff, which was just pretty awesome. And I'm pretty excited for folks to get their hands on it. And it's one of those things, man, like it's live. I'm super excited about it. And I think it's got potential. I think it'll help a lot of folks. But it's the waiting that's probably the hardest, because it's like, come on, world. You should know this. This is amazing. Check it out. 5 stars. But I know it takes time. That's the part. I keep telling people this, but like I've been teaching my daughter, you know, whenever she gets all worked up, like, we have to be patient. We gotta be patient. And so I need to tell myself that, like, dude, you gotta be patient. Gotta have patience. So yeah, it's just pretty exciting. A little nerve wracking also, just because of the, you know, a lot of back office stuff doesn't matter, but I hope it helps a lot of folks in a lot of ways. Because, like, I think I made it basically like make any home repair or question you have like super obvious. Matter of fact, one of my buddies had his sister check it out, and she had an instance where like there were things that were just hanging out around the house that she had, you know, known it's an issue, but like didn't. I guess didn't have somebody come in or just getting around to it or whatever. But like that was something that like, if you're able to even use this thing just because you take a picture and you can find out what the heck's going on, whenever you call somebody to help, you won't get blindsided by the stuff it requires to knock it out, right? So that was kind of a nice little side thing to kind of overhear, and that kind of helped me think of additional tools like, oh, this may not be just for pros, like this could be just literally everybody who has no experience. That was kind of where I came up with the idea for, you know, what the name of what tools are, what they do, and when to use them, and also like kind of a glossary of certain terms that stand out people use. And you have like, if you don't know, you're gonna be like, I don't know what that is. So I kind of built that in as well. So like as you're getting these projects done and looking at them and seeing what they entail to be fixed, you can kind of cross-reference some of the terms if it's not familiar with you. I have a lot more ideas for the next phase of the app, but I'm only one dude, and I'm juggling like 1,000 things, and we'll get there. But yeah. So yeah, this is 1 week in. It's weird. I never set out to build an app, and then I had an idea, and I was like, I don't know how to do this. And then the little voice back in my head is like, you can't do this. And then I was like, yeah, I can. And then I did. So that's kind of neat to have that kind of under your belt. And I got a patent pending for it. So the workflow itself is basically protected through the patent office. And I can apply it to a lot of different works that I have in mind and planned out. So also helps avoid copycat nonsense from Jaina or whoever. Yeah. But I'm excited for the potential for it. And even if it helps like just a handful, dozens of people or whatever, like that's pretty cool. Because I mean, y'all probably know when you're on your own and you don't really have a great network, how isolating that is and how frustrating that is when you don't have anybody, like literally anybody. So like I think this helps kind of bridge that gap and kind of even the playing field a little bit. Um, and even if you have no experience or you're just starting out or you just don't want to get screwed over, like that's where I think this can really help out a lot. And it's free, man. You can download that, watch a couple ads, you get a couple uploads a day, bada bing, done. And if you're more like a heavy user or you have a one-off project for like a weekend or whatever, I do have subscriptions for those in place where you can just kind of go like go hog wild for a couple days or months or whatever, or just have it in your back pocket. What's kind of cool too is like, so I worked at a place where it was constant in and out, a revolving door of talent for certain services. And one of the biggest challenges was hiring qualified technicians for stuff. And this is kind of one of those things where, you know, if you're a business owner or whatever, and you're trying to hire talent, this is one of those things you can also kind of like hand out or issue as one of your, as like almost like a standard issue tool for your new hires. Maybe they're you know, entry level, but they can perform much higher because they have a tool at their disposal. So like they may not be able to address everything. Like this is great for like a handyman business, man. Like if you're a solo operator for a handyman service, like maybe it's time to expand because like maybe you're getting older or maybe you're just tired or you just kind of want to have additional person on staff. You don't need to have like a dude who's been doing handyman stuff for his entire life. Like just a dude who can like basically, you can change your oil. Like, I mean, that's all you really need to do most home repair stuff. So a tool like this would kind of really help, you know, bring on staff that may not necessarily have the skills, but they have the, I don't know what you call it, I guess the attitude, or you just like have that, like, I can do it, like that kind of thing. And you just arm them with the stuff that helps them get there. So is there that kind of mentality could be super useful. And again, I mentioned earlier, like the maintenance manager stuff, like, dude, you gotta do so much stuff. Like you're an expert. You have to be an expert in everything. Holy smokes! Like, how do you get any sleep? That's where this is also like you can help prioritize jobs super quick. So you're like, just even walking through the facility or whatever, wherever you're managing it, you're just like, all right, this is all right. That call, this okay, that's that okay, and you just kind of like take your little pictures and reverse your later. Like, okay, well, this job requires that. This requires this, and you can help like prioritize the jobs and kind of justify the cost or whatever to whoever you need to, even if it's yourself. And the same thing goes with like, you know, property managers or whoever. Like if you're maintaining a property, you can go around taking pictures of stuff and kind of helping, again, same thing, like prioritizing jobs that you gotta stay on top of. So it's kind of another application for it. But I use this thing all the time now. And I do kind of abuse my position where I actually like I adjust my account basically in the back end to allow for basically heavy use for peanuts. And it's also for testing purposes to improve stuff. But it's cool because like going back to the app development stuff, man, like when I built this thing, I was kind of planning it out. And I was like, I just want to get an app. Like, it doesn't need to be fancy. I just want to get an app that works, like that does a super limited thing I'm trying to do. But then I built it in like 2 days, and I was like, okay, I kind of want to do more. Like, and it's like the more that I did, the more I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty. Sounds so like I don't like saying it, but I'm so proud of myself for that. Like getting this app done. Like that was really hard freaking work, and the resistance from certain parties, man, to even starting it was just oof. But I freaking did it, and that's pretty cool. And it's live the whole world, and it might help somebody. I hope it does, but I don't really know why I'm recording this again. Maybe if you're like, I don't know, weird, you like to know this kind of stuff in the background, and like if you're trying to do your own app, like that's awesome, do it. Don't wait for somebody else to help you or give you permission, dude. Like just get out and do it. Just get started. And that's one of those things, like I'd say 95% of the things that I started, I was like, all I have to do is just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, because most of the time you can figure it out if you keep trying. But if you give up before you even start, like, you're never going to get there, obviously. And that's another thing is, this actually reminds me of Alex Hormozy, if you're not familiar. He says stuff like, basically, 99% of people don't try. And the fact that you are puts you ahead of all those people. And there's other kinds of like lines of thought in that respect, where it's like, you can like talk yourself out of just about everything, but like if you push past that inner voice where it's like, you can't do it, it's like, everybody else is dealing with that same voice more often than not, unless you're sociopaths. So like, go for it, dude. Like, make an app, start a business, freaking quit your job. Like, life is short, man. Cut the losers out of your life. Work on yourself. That's a big one. Read some books, dude. Like, that's a really big one too. But don't just read them just like, as like notches on your belt. That doesn't sound right. But like, apply, like, it's kind of like those things, like you people, even like with people you meet, like, you take a little bit of what they offer and you're like, I like that aspect. I don't like that aspect. I don't agree with them, but like, take the little nuggets that are great about each book you read. Same with the people you interact with, and apply them. Don't just like learn about them, but actually apply them, like, actually in your life. And I think you'll be pretty surprised how far that'll take you. Because I can tell you, your upbringing was not right. None of ours is. And it took me a long time to figure out a lot of stuff. So I'm still at it. But books are a huge help. I have a lot of my favorites listed actually on my website. And actually on my channel too. I got that book, How to Change Your Own, How to Run Your Own Life by Jut Meininger. I did the whole audiobook because like that dude has an amazing book, first off. And I was shocked that it didn't like have a bigger following, or, I mean, obviously on audiobooks, it's not very big as far as people not knowing about it. But I actually learned about that from this dude called, he calls himself like UK's most hated sales trainer. Super grating, but I actually really like his style. And I don't like all his tactics, but I do like the guy a lot. But he recommended this book in one of the interviews I watched, and it just stuck with me. And I was like, let me find this. Like, oh, here's the camera. It's coming back down. Hello. Anyway, that was weird. So he recommended this book, and I read it, and I was like, whoa. And then I read it again, and I was like, whoa. And then I was like, I'll make an audiobook. And 2 weeks later, the full thing was done. The video, I cut it back with just the audio. So if you're like driving or whatever, you don't have to have friggin' YouTube up. Which there's links for all of that in the description for that stuff. That's an awesome book. And in the same thing, I have, in the same note, like I have on my website a bunch of books that I read through that I thought was super valuable. They're mostly business ones, but I do have a handful of like, I guess you call it therapy, sort of. Those type of books. And I even listed like the Dune books, if you ever read those or watched the movie. That is a freaking bananas series, but it's quite good. And I haven't read any of his son's stuff, but I have read all of Frank Herbert's books. Just phenomenal. And also very strange, but still phenomenal. But yeah, mostly business books is what I focus on more often than not. But again, it's like, I don't know, you just get fed up doing the day-to-day stuff where like nothing you do actually matters, is like so just grating on the soul, and not having purpose. And like, I'm spending all my time to help somebody else's freaking dream. Screw that. I'm going to figure out stuff on my own. And a lot of people won't understand that based on projection of their fear. To include yourself, you'll have your inner critic will be very, very loud, not very nice. But, well, depending on the person, depending on you and how you're wired. Mine was not very nice. Still isn't sometimes. but it gets getting easier to stay on top of with that stuff. But most people won't understand that. They're like, "Oh man, you're such a fool, blah blah blah. You had all this going for you." It's like you don't even know. No, I didn't. It was all a lie. We've been trained in the dumbest way possible our whole lives. And some people never wake up. It sounds so like conspiratorial talking like that, but it's kind of true. So yeah, even if it's not like so aggressive as like starting a business or doing your own job, like making your own like app or whatever, just like something that's yours, man. Lady, go on that trip, go on that date. Don't settle for a loser. If you have loser friends, you're going to be the next loser in the group. There's this one thing my dude that I talked to said. He's like, because he used to do addiction. He used to work in addictions. And he would talk about how, he would tell his addicts that got a DUI or whatever, because he would be like, they go in to see him because it was like required by the court. And he'd be like, so you're in the minority, right? And the person would be like, what are you talking about? Like, well, you know that you're like people who have DUIs or DWIs, whatever you want to call it. There's like next to nobody who gets these things. Like there's like a very small amount of people who get this. He's like, what are you talking about? Like that's what the person would typically respond with. Like, what are you talking about? Tommy's got it, and Frank's got it, and Philip. Hey, they all got it, man. And he's like, those your buddies? And he's like, yeah. Like, that's because you're comparing in, which is a common fallacy. Compare yourself with losers. It's a pretty low bar to set. It's like, well, I mean, I might be, an a-hole, but I may not be Hitler. It's like, that's like not a good comparison, man. That's a really bad one. I am all over the place with this video. But, yeah. I don't even know where I got derailed with this. It's all about comparing within a small group of people is a challenge. So like, oh yeah, the losers, yeah. So like, if you hang out with people who are mean, you're likely going to be pretty mean. I actually wrote this article, this little post about like, if you hang out with uranium long enough, you'll start to glow too. And, even though, you may not be around that group currently, that effect and that energy can be felt just like it would be if you're like radioactive. So be very careful who you, let into your circle of friends and close ones, because like the people that are closest to you and the ones that love you and you love them, they'll be exposed to that too. So if you have kids, you can be better. You got friends that are giant buttholes and they're talking about my wife's dating all these dang kids. Wee-oo. Victim nonsense. Please. There's a lot of people in this world. It's just a matter of finding the right ones to be in your life. I'm still kind of looking. I found a couple of really good people as I shift my focus, but it's still a work in progress. I'll do that later. But yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, so the app itself, super proud that's awesome, and it's live for everybody. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. I wrote like a page about it too on my website. A whole bunch of stuff. It's tough because I'm like the only dude doing this. I wish I had like people and staffers on my not to do this stuff, but yeah, so SPAKL. Let's see if I can get this to focus. It's trying to look at me. Hello. Here, let me turn off the tracking. Oh, no, just turn it back on. Turn it off. There we go. Let's be able to focus on that. Woohoo! Look at me. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we got the main page where you add or look up a photo. We got a whole category of videos. So like how to add an outlet from another one. I got a bunch of tools here. So like if you're working in a bathroom, what types of tools will you need? And there are links to go buy them. Resources. There's that one I was talking about, like handy maintenance reminders. All these different things you can just add to your calendar. It's like descaling your coffee maker. You can add that. That's another thing. Okay, so there's this piece here where it asks, "Do you want to allow me to have allow the app to have complete access or whatever to your calendar?" Apple uses some really gnarly word like terminology. I'm like, "Do you want them to have full clarity on your?" And I'm like, I just want to add a calendar event. That's all I want to do. But it sounds so spooky. Like after if you ever open an app and it's like, do you want to allow full access to photos? Or do you want to, allow this and that, the phone, the camera, the microphone? Like Apple makes you have permission prompts in place. And all it really means is like there's a feature of the app that needs to be used to basically use the feature. There's a feature in the app that needs access to certain things on your phone basically to help that feature actually do its thing. So like if you want to add pictures to social media, you got to give permission to your camera or your photos. But like Apple does some weird, creepy terminology for that, and like I still don't trust some companies that do that. But as far as mine is concerned, like I literally just want you to be able to use the app. So anyway, yeah, it's just this is a side note. I was surprised by that because I'm like I read the notice or whatever for like adding calendar events, and I was like that sounds so sketchy. Like if I didn't know it, like that sounds so sketchy for no, I don't have access to my calendar. It's like, well, do you want the calendar event? Because like that's how you add it. Same with taking a photo. Like I want to take a photo of this. What's wrong with it? It's like access to my phone, or to my camera. No, absolutely not. It's just like, well, there you go. You just broke the app. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside, kind of a funny thing. And then I have the unit measure. I mentioned about that. There's a calculator in there. Project materials, that's another one in here. So like, for example, paint. If I'm painting this garage, like I can take measurements of the room and plop it in here, and it'll tell me exactly how many gallons of paint basically I need. And that helps me estimate the cost and avoid those trips back to the hardware store, especially if you live kind of far away where it's like enough to where it's annoying. You can avoid those from the start. Helps planning out budgeting as well. I have a whole DIY safety guide. That's just general safety tips. Glossary of terms. I think we talked about that a little while ago. Quick fix-it tips. So like common things you come across, you're like, that's annoying, but it's like a super easy fix, like a squeaky door, stuff like that. And then of course tools defined where it talks about what each, because there's like 1,000 different drills, 1,000 different saws, and like which one are they for. I have that all broken down inside there. And there is features in here for businesses if you want to add in as a business, add your business to be like, so if I'm like taking a picture of drywall, I have a giant hole in it, and I am a local drywall contractor, I can like basically have my business featured in a certain region with people who need that kind of work. So you can have that functionality. And there's another partner type where it's like you can have your products featured as well. So if you're, let's just say you're a supplier of, drywall repair supplies, you can have like that whole section in there for drywall repair, basically. I think up to 6 products per business, essentially. And that's nationwide too. So if you're interested in that, that would be something that like you would need to have that sort of distribution capability essentially to be part of that. But I have a whole vetting process essentially. But that's kind of the opportunity for folks who are trying to get their name out there, want to have more expanded footprint. This is a great way to go about doing that. And this is early, I understand, but sooner better than later, I think. There's a lot of potential for this to continue to grow. So it's just I've got a lot of words to say and a lot of things thinking about, see, I keep turning off my actually use my hand a lot. Is it going to follow me now? Yeah. So if I hold my hand up, it does like the follow but yeah. So yeah, a lot of thoughts, a lot of general pondering. And as I was out here painting, I'm like, I'm going to make a video just for the heck of it. I don't know. Maybe it'll be, for me at least, helpful to kind of like just talk through what's been going on in my head, because I'm kind of very isolated in this respect. So yeah, Mobile apps, man, wild. AI, wild. Do-it-yourself stuff, I like that stuff. Like I'm out here painting and sanding stuff like this. I love this stuff. And matter of fact, I actually have this. Here, I'll show you. If I can turn off this. Okay. Okay. All right. So I got this workbench, which oops, don't let it fall. So it's actually collapsible. So you can see the carriage bolts right there act like hinges for this. And so the legs fold in, and I just mount this to the wall whenever I'm all said and done. So it helps because I don't have a ton of space. You see the bicycles up there. But this helps me, excuse me. This helps me have kind of a workbench without taking up a ton of garage space. So I just fold the legs underneath and then put it on the wall and just out of the way for the majority of the season. So I'm ready to do woodworking again. So I really like this a lot. I think I just saw this online one time. I just kind of estimated what stuff would look like, how high I wanted it to be. And I wanted it to be high enough to where it's like a little bit below my waist. If I can be honest here, about to my crotch. But that way I can have good leverage when I'm trying to sand down, because I was doing really heavy woodworking at the time. And I wanted to have something I could really easily put my weight behind. Back here. My weight behind when I'm sanding. I didn't want it to be too high or whatever. So that was kind of the idea behind this itself. But that has nothing to do with anything. It's just I'm on it, and every time I have to use it, I'm like, this is cool. And it's got wheels that I just fold up as well. Yeah. But anyway, do it yourself, man. Check it out. SPAKL. It is available on iOS and Android. And yeah, take a look. Worldwide, take a look, baby. Enjoy it. Let me know what you think. If you have ideas for additional tools or improvements or whatever, let me know. I'm happy to take your feedback. And also, there's a feedback form actually in the account section, so you can just kind of have that a little bit more formal, I guess. Helps me stay more organized because there's a lot of people. But leave a comment, like, subscribe. See you.